There's a quiet, sacred moment inside you, one that appears without effort, like a breath you never had to remember to take. In that moment, everything can shift. Your future, your self-concept, your entire world can turn in a new direction. Not through force, not through strain, but through a simple inner movement. This is the heart of the teaching. Your state of consciousness is the only doorway through which your life expresses itself. Change the state, and the world must mirror it. Instantly, faithfully, and often in ways you could never imagine. You have done this before without realizing it every time you slipped from worry to calm, from doubt to certainty, from fear to hope. Something in you crossed the threshold. That inner crossing is what shapes the outer landscape. Life does not change because you beg it to, or because you are deserving, or because you have waited long enough. Life changes the moment you assume a new version of yourself. When your imagination embraces a reality that feels more like home than the old one, the world then rearranges to match the tone of that new assumption. This is why it has been said that as you believe in your heart, so it is done unto you. Not as you wish, not as you plead, but as you believe, as you inwardly accept as true. The belief is not simply a thought, it is a felt reality, a state you occupy. If the inner self stands in the state of abundance, abundance must come. If it stands in the state of being loved, love must unfold. If it stands in the state of success, success must find its way to you. Life is compelled to outpicture the state you dwell in. The extraordinary thing is this: a state can be changed in an instant. Not through long rituals or complicated practices, but through a shift in feeling, a rearrangement of inner attention. You can step into a new state the way you would step into a warm room after being out in the cold, not by fighting the cold, but by moving toward warmth. A simple example appears in everyday life. Imagine two people facing the same situation, perhaps a job interview, a difficult conversation, or a new opportunity. One walks in with the state of insecurity, expecting rejection. The other carries the inner conviction of someone already chosen, already valued. The world responds differently to each of them, not because the world is choosing, but because they are choosing. Their inner state dictates the tone of the outer experience. And the shift between these two states can happen in a heartbeat. This is why the teaching emphasizes imagination. Your imagination is not a childish escape, it is the creative instrument by which you enter new states. When you imagine something with feeling, when you let it become vivid, alive, and emotionally real, you are not pretending. You are selecting a new state of being, and that selection becomes a creative command. What you feel yourself to be determines what shows up in your life. There is a verse that says, when you pray, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. The key is hidden in plain sight. Believe that you have received, not that you will one day receive. The moment you feel it is already done, you have stepped into the state where that reality lives. You have unlocked your future by entering its vibration now. The mind often tries to make this complicated. It argues, questions, analyzes, and insists on seeing evidence before committing to belief. But states do not shift intellectually, they shift emotionally. You know how to feel discouraged without effort. You know how to feel hopeful without instruction. In the same way, you can feel the reality of your desire without waiting for conditions to change. The feeling is the key that opens the door. Consider someone longing for a new beginning, perhaps a new career, a deeper connection, or a renewed sense of purpose. If they remain in the state of longing, they continue to experience a life that reflects yearning rather than fulfillment. But if for a few quiet moments they close their eyes and imagine the relief, the gratitude, the certainty of someone who already has what they desire, everything inside them begins to shift. The breath softens, the heart opens. The inner conversation changes from will it happen to thank you that it already has. In that moment, they are no longer the seeker, they are the receiver, and life must honor the state of the receiver. This inner movement is gentle, not forceful. It is like sinking into a memory that hasn't yet occurred, but feels just as real. You allow the new feeling to wrap around you, to settle into your chest, to color your thoughts with warmth. Then you carry that feeling with you, not with tension, but with ease. As you walk, as you speak, as you move through your day, you live from this new state. You return to it when your old thoughts try to pull you back. You remind yourself that the only change that matters is the change within. There is a beautiful truth hidden beneath this practice. You are not trying to become something different. You are remembering who you already are. The fullness of every possibility exists within you now. You are not pushing the future into place. You are selecting it from within yourself. The moment you occupy a new state, your world rearranges to match it, just as a shadow rearranges itself according to the shape of the object that casts it. Imagine waking tomorrow with a quiet certainty that your life is unfolding exactly as you have claimed. Imagine moving through the world with the inner poise of someone who knows their desires are already taking form. There is a softness in that knowing, a peace, a confidence without arrogance. This is the state that unlocks your future, not through striving, but through surrender to the truth of your imagination. One of the most powerful things ever spoken is this: according to your faith, it is done unto you. Faith in this context is not blind belief. It is loyalty to an unseen reality. It is the willingness to feel the truth of your desire before the world confirms it. It is choosing the inner experience of fulfillment even when nothing outside suggests it is coming. It is stepping into the state of your wish fulfilled and refusing to leave it no matter what the senses report. You can practice this right now. Close your eyes and gently breathe. Think of something you want, not with desperation, but with affection. Now imagine the feeling you would have if it were already yours. Not the moment of receiving it, but the quiet afterward. The relief, the ease, the gratitude. Let that feeling rise in you. Let it soften your shoulders and warm your heart. Let it become familiar. That feeling is the doorway. That feeling is the state. Enter it fully as though it is your natural home, because it is. When doubts arise, and they will, you do not fight them. You simply return to the state you have chosen. Every return strengthens it. Every return deepens it. Eventually it becomes your default position, the atmosphere of your inner world. And when that happens, nothing can stop the outer reflection from appearing. There is nothing in your past or present that can prevent this transformation. States are not earned. They are chosen. And you are free to choose a new one as easily as changing the direction of your gaze. The future is not fixed. It is fluid, responsive, and intimately tied to the nature of your inner life. When you shift states, you shift futures. Let this be your reminder. You hold the key to your unfolding. You are not waiting on life. Life is waiting on you. It listens to the tone of your inner being, and it responds with perfect fidelity. Step into the state that reflects your highest vision. Feel it as true. Live from it gently, consistently, lovingly, and watch as your world reshapes itself, quietly at first, then unmistakably, to match the truth you have dared to claim within. Even now, something within you is rising, a subtle awareness that you are far more powerful inwardly than you have ever allowed yourself to believe. This inner power does not shout, it whispers. It does not push, it invites. It waits for you to recognize that the state you choose in imagination is the seed of every event that will later bloom in your world. And the moment you choose with feeling, the moment you inhabit that new inner atmosphere, creation begins. You may notice how quickly your emotions respond to an image. A single memory can pull you into sadness, and a single hopeful thought can lift you into joy. That rapid shift is evidence. It shows how fluid your state truly is. You can move from fear to confidence, from doubt to assurance, the moment you decide to feel differently. This is not pretending. It is selecting the foundation you want your life to rest upon. And the world will shape itself around that foundation, as surely as a river shapes itself around the land. Sometimes people believe they must solve every problem externally before they can feel peaceful or empowered. But the teaching reveals something much more loving. The inner state solves the outer problem. When you dwell in the state of one who is guided, one who is protected, one who is already blessed, you become aligned with answers, opportunities, and timing that your anxious mind could never orchestrate. You are no longer trying to control outcomes. You are allowing them to unfold from the certainty you carry within. It has been said that the unseen things are eternal, while the seen things are temporary. This means the invisible state precedes the visible form. What you hold in imagination lasts. What you see in the outer world passes. So choose your inner dwelling place wisely. If you could see how faithfully life reflects your inner assumptions, you would never again indulge in fear for more than a moment. You would shift, gently but deliberately, into the state of your desire fulfilled, knowing that this inner movement is the true act of creation. Imagine someone who has struggled for years to feel worthy of love. They try to fix this through effort, changing their appearance, improving their habits, seeking validation. But nothing truly shifts until one quiet evening they close their eyes and imagine the feeling of being deeply cherished, not by a specific person, but by life itself. They let the warmth fill them. They let the inner conversation become gentle and kind. They practice this feeling until it becomes natural. And then something astonishing happens. People begin treating them differently. Opportunities for connection appear. A softness enters their relationships. Chip, E-world mirrors the new state they have chosen. Not because the world changed first, but because they did. This is the beauty of the technique. You do not need to force anything into place. You simply enter the state that matches your desired future. Assume it, feel it, let it settle into your heart, and then live from it. You will begin to notice small signs at first, coincidences, ideas, invitations. They are gentle taps on the shoulder, reminders that your new state is taking root. The outer world is adjusting itself to the tone of your inner being. You might even see how old patterns begin to fade. Situations that once triggered insecurity no longer have the same power. Thoughts that once caused anxiety lose their grip. This is because you are no longer standing in the state that produced those reactions. You have stepped into a higher, clearer, more loving version of yourself, and everything that does not match that new state quietly dissolves. There is a story of a man who lived in constant worry about his finances. He believed lack was his destiny. But one day he decided to test the truth of these teachings. Instead of dwelling on fear, he began imagining the relief of financial freedom. He pictured himself paying bills with ease, giving generously, feeling secure. At first it felt unnatural. His old state tried to pull him back. But each time worry rose, he gently returned to the feeling of abundance. Over time, that feeling became his new normal. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, opportunities opened. A business idea flourished. Debts were cleared. Favor flowed toward him. His world rearranged itself around the state he had consciously chosen. This is not luck. This is law. When the inner state changes, the outer must follow. You may wonder how to hold a new state when reality appears to contradict it. This is where faith becomes active. Faith is not ignorance. Jacques, it is choosing which truth to honor, the temporary appearance or the eternal inner vision. When you honor the vision, you maintain the state, even when the world has not yet caught up. You act, speak, think, and respond as the version of yourself who already possesses the desire. Not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. This is the same principle expressed in the idea that the evidence of things not seen is the ground of true faith. The unseen state is your evidence. The feeling is your proof. The moment you experience the inner fulfillment, you no longer need the outer world to reassure you. You know it is done because you have already lived it in consciousness. And as you continue to dwell in this chosen state, you begin to feel a profound shift in identity. You are no longer someone reaching for a future. You are someone revealing what is already yours. The old version of you, burdened by doubt, fear, or limitation, begins to dissolve. A new version emerges naturally without struggle. You speak differently, you walk differently, you expect differently, you radiate the frequency of fulfillment. And life cannot help but respond in harmony. Every day offers a fresh invitation to step into this creative power. Every moment offers a chance to shift states. You do not need perfect conditions. You do not need more time. You simply need willingness, a soft openness to feel the new reality is true, even if only for a few seconds, even if gently. That is enough to begin the transformation. And as you practice, you'll realize something miraculous. The state you choose becomes increasingly easier to access. What once felt like imagination begins to feel like identity. What once felt like a possibility becomes a certainty. What once felt distant becomes familiar. Your inner world becomes saturated with the feeling of your fulfilled desire, and your outer world gradually reflects the richness of that inner shift. Continue. You may start to notice subtle changes in the way you think. Old doubts that once shouted now only whisper, and even when they appear, you recognize them for what they are, echoes of a state you no longer live in. You don't fight them, because fighting would mean giving them life. Instead, you gently return to the feeling of the new state, the one that carries peace, certainty, and inner alignment. Each return is an act of creation. Each return plants the seed deeper into the soil of your consciousness. There is a quiet strength that grows within you through this practice. You begin to walk with an inner assurance that has nothing to do with circumstances. People may ask why you seem so calm, so confident, so grounded, even when things appear unchanged, but they cannot see the world you are nurturing inside, the world that is forming, shaping, aligning itself with your chosen state. You have entered the realm where the inner becomes more compelling than the outer, and that is where transformation happens. Sometimes you might catch yourself slipping back into an old state, one that no longer fits who you are becoming. When this happens, be gentle with yourself. The shift is not about perfection, it is about awareness. The moment you notice, you have already awakened. You simply breathe, close your eyes if you need to, and feel the reality of the new state again. You let it wrap around you like a familiar coat, warm, comforting, entirely yours. And just like that, you are back in alignment. This gentle return is one of the most powerful acts you can ever perform. It proves that you are not a prisoner of your moods or your memories. You are the chooser, the one who decides where your inner life will dwell, and the world, with unfailing loyalty, will mirror your dwelling place. You might begin to observe how people respond to you differently, how opportunities arise with surprising grace, how solutions appear before problems fully form. This is not coincidence, it is coherence. When your inner state is aligned with the life you desire, everything around you organizes itself in support of that alignment. Life stops feeling like resistance and begins to feel like flow. You are no longer pushing against the world, you are moving with, guided by a deeper intelligence that works through your imagination. There is a profound truth in the idea that the inner man and the outer man are one continuous expression. The outer is simply the inner made visible. When you shift states, you are not wishing for a different life. You are birthing it. The world cannot help but reflect the new shape of your consciousness. It must respond, must rearrange, must obey the tone of your inner being. This is not arrogance. It is the natural function of consciousness expressing itself. Think of an artist shaping clay. The clay has no choice. It simply takes the form the artist gives it. Your outer world is that clay. Your imagination is the sculptor. Your state is the mold. And every time you choose a feeling, a belief, a mental picture, you are shaping the form your life will take. This is why the teaching insists that you assume the state of the wish fulfilled, not because it is a trick, but because it is the truth of how creation works. As you deepen in this understanding, you begin to lose interest in complaining, worrying, or arguing for your limitations. It becomes clear that these actions are merely tools for returning to an old state, one you no longer wish to inhabit. Instead, you start asking a different kind of question. What state would a person who already has my desire be living in? Then you feel your way into that state, not with strain, but with curiosity, softness, and willingness. You begin to see that every desire is actually an invitation. It calls you toward an expanded version of yourself. It asks you to rise, to imagine more boldly, to trust more deeply, to align more faithfully. The desire is not separate from you. It is you, your future self, calling your present self forward. And the way you respond to that call is by entering the state where the desire is already fulfilled. This is why inner work becomes joyful rather than burdensome. You are not forcing change, you are accepting it. You are not begging for transformation. You are expressing the truth of who you are. You are not trying to convince life of your worthiness. You are living from the worthiness that has always been within you. There is a moment that comes, quietly and without fanfare, when the new state no longer feels like a practice. It feels like home. You wake in the morning with a sense of expectancy, not anxiety. You move through the day with gratitude for things that have not yet appeared but feel undeniably yours. You close your eyes at night not with longing but with contentment, knowing that the inner work is the real work and that everything else is simply time catching up to what you have already accepted as true. Continue. You will start to notice that the world responds to you more fluidly, almost as if it has been waiting for you to step into this new inner identity. Faces soften, conversations shift, ideas arise with perfect timing. You may even find yourself in the right place at the right moment without consciously planning it. This is the rhythm of alignment. When your inner state is steady, the outer world harmonizes with it like a melody meeting its perfect chord. There is something beautifully natural about this process. It does not require dramatic effort or relentless striving. It unfolds through quiet faith, through gentle inner choosing. Just as a seed does not struggle to become a tree, your desired life does not strain to become real. It blossoms from the state you embody. The moment you claim the inner feeling, the unseen roots begin to form, and even before the world shows evidence, something within you knows it is already growing. This inner knowing becomes a kind of companionship, a warm presence reminding you that you are not journeying toward your desire, you are unfolding from it. You begin to feel guided, supported, carried by something deeper than logic. You find yourself trusting the invisible more than the visible, because the invisible is where creation truly occurs. And during moments when old circumstances try to pull you back into familiar doubts, you may feel a gentle strength rise within you, a quiet voice that says, "This is not who I am anymore." You are no longer the person striving to reach a future. You are the person embodying it. You are living from the state, not toward it. And that shift is everything. This is the technique's real magic. It transforms you from the inside out. It dissolves old identities, old fears, old assumptions, not by attacking them, but by replacing them. When a new state becomes your home, the old state has nowhere left to live. It fades naturally, like the darkness that disappears when light enters a room. You do not fight the darkness, you introduce the light. Soon you begin to realize that what you once called problems were simply reflections of a former state. They held no power of their own. They were shadows cast by an inner assumption you no longer accept. And as you maintain your new state, these shadows pass. Some fade slowly, some instantly, but all must yield. For nothing can remain in your world unless it resonates with the state you inhabit. You start to notice, too, that inspiration flows more freely. Creative ideas arrive unforced. Solutions appear with ease. You feel attuned to a subtle current, as though life is whispering guidance directly into your heart. This is the natural consequence of residing in a state that matches your highest good. When you occupy the state of clarity, clarity finds you. When you occupy the state of abundance, opportunities arise. When you occupy the state of love, connection deepens effortlessly. You do not chase outcomes, they come to meet you. You may remember moments in your past when something wonderful unfolded seemingly out of thin air. A chance meeting, an unexpected opening, a blessing that arrived without explanation. Those moments were not accidents. They were glimpses of what happens when, even briefly, you slipped into a higher state without realizing it. Now, with awareness, you can choose such states intentionally. You can live there consistently. And as you continue to practice, your sensitivity to states becomes sharper. You begin to feel when you are drifting into an old pattern, not with judgment, but with clarity. You recognize it the way you might recognize stepping into a room with colder air. It doesn't feel like home anymore. And so you shift, softly, immediately, lovingly, back to the inner warmth of your chosen state. And with each shift, your power grows. In the end, everything you seek is already reaching for you, waiting for you to step into the state where it can finally appear. Nothing stands between you and your future, but the story you tell yourself in this present moment. And the beautiful truth is that you can change that story at any time, instantly, lovingly, decisively. You are not bound by your past, nor limited by your circumstances. You are limited only by the states you continue to occupy. But now you know the secret. Now you understand the power that has been yours all along. Choose the state that reflects your highest, most fulfilled self. Feel it. Live from it. Let it become the atmosphere of your heart. And as you do, watch the world bend, open, soften, and rise to meet the truth you have claimed within. Your future is not waiting somewhere ahead of you, it is unfolding from within you now. Step into it boldly, step into it fully, and let life reveal its miracles in response to the state you dare to call your own.